FTL Multiverse expands on the concepts of base FTL in nearly every regard. Elites exist for nearly every type of crew in the game. While many of them are difficult to find, they can be an incredible boon to your run, and may even be necessary for certain team compositions to thrive. Today we'll discuss these elites, what they do, and some of the places you can find them. Yet again, I'm Extra Shoddy. Welcome back to FTL Multiverse. Human soldiers. Common and uninteresting, but better. Soldiers deal slightly more damage and take less damage in combat than standard humans, have even better resistance to hazards, and learn skills much faster. Soldiers don't stand out, but they don't struggle at anything either. You can make them work in nearly any team composition. I overlooked humans in the standard crew video, but there are ways to make them thrive in Multiverse, both for boarding and ship side. The lab upgrade Teamwork Neurons gives a flat bonus to combat damage and repair speed to every allied human for every other allied human in the room. For example, if you have 3 humans in a room, each of them gains a 30% bonus to combat and repair speed, a 15% bonus for every other human in that room. This bonus stacks quite quickly, and makes big boarding parties of humans and their variants, including medics, quite strong in many different situations. Soldiers are fairly common as far as elite crew go, and as long as your reputation is in good order, you can find one in almost any run. Admiral Tully's offer at the beginning of Sector 8 offers a trained soldier as one of the rewards. This is a good choice if you have room for more crew, or have lost one in one of the later sectors. Human Wentworth Technicians. All good techies come in pairs. Wentworth Technicians have 50% extra repair speed, and even more repair speed in the following systems. They also learn skills faster, but like Zoltan monks, cannot fight crew or sabotage systems. However, their active ability summons a temporary combat drone to fight for them. Techies are rare, and have a surprisingly strong division of labor. Their drone can temporarily occupy boarding crew while techies man or repair systems, even in different rooms. It's hard to find a team that couldn't use one during a boarding attack. Wentworth techies are hard to find, but one is available in Sector 8 as a reward for a potential event. If you side with the rogue engineer and take down the admiral in that event, they'll join you. Don't think too hard about what he wanted to do with the moon. NG Defenders. The franchise owner of Jiffy Lube. Defenders inflict even less damage in combat than standard NG, but have nearly triple the standard repair speed, and take reduced damage from hazards. Their active ability reduces all damage they take by 90%, and allows them to temporarily resist mind control. Defenders are some of the best repair crew available in Multiverse, and while they can barely deal damage in combat, they're difficult to kill while their ability is active, even by dedicated 4-person boarding parties. Like Separatist NG, they're also excellent for occupying your own mind-controlled crew. There's a particular throwback to an event from base FTL that can supply you with an NG Defender. In the Harmony Core worlds, there's a chance you'll be confronted by an NG ship hunting a virus that traveled with you. If you use the NG to negotiate, you'll end up with a dead NG and a fight on your hands. Winning this fight causes the virus to regenerate the NG as a brand new defender, giving you the elite for the trouble. Zoltan Peacekeepers. Zoltans with powerful power armor. They have slightly less health than standard Zoltan, but slightly more crew damage and take 65% damage in crew combat. They supply 2 energy to any room they occupy, and on death deal 30 damage to enemy crew and 1 ion damage to any room they occupy. Peacekeepers feel like a straight upgrade to standard Zoltan. They give more energy, are better at defending themselves, and can even act as competent boarding crew, especially with a clone bay. They can give a whopping 4 energy with the lab upgrade overclocking, but once again, very risky. Peacekeepers are military personnel, but they're often found working as envoys or diplomats. In the Federation Embassy sector, you can find a group of Zoltans being held hostage. Negotiating your way through this encounter will let you recruit a peacekeeper for yourself. Duskbringer Martyrs. More assault per unit battery. Martyrs share the power generation and teleportation of standard Duskbringers, but their active ability is even more potent. After a short countdown, Duskbringer Martyrs explode, killing themselves, dealing heavy damage to friend and foe alike, and potentially starting fires in the same room. Martyrs are an escalation of Duskbringers, dealing even more damage and potentially damaging systems in the process. They're very strong in groups, though it may be difficult to find more than one. In the Duskbringer stronghold, there's a rather obnoxious rebel by the name of Kick Your Ass Kyle. A Duskbringer martyr will offer you a deal to take him out, and upon doing so, he'll agree to join you. Alternatively, you can just find a cloned database in the same sector and clone yourself a Dustbringer martyr. For fun. Mantis suzerains. I had to look up this word. It's like a hands-off leader, or something along those lines. Middle Mantis management. Suzerains do what Mantis do best. They deal double damage and take slightly less damage during combat, and their active ability, which begins charging at the start of a fight, increases both their combat damage and the damage that they take from hazards. Suzerains aren't complicated. That's their beauty. They hit hard, but don't really do anything else. However, the lab upgrade Slave Masters is exactly what it says on the tin. Mantis forcing Engie to work overtime. It's a rather problematic way of getting extra repair power from a suzerain. The least complicated way to get a suzerain on your crew is through the Cura tasks. The medium task Survivor Testimonial has you face off against a suzerain by the name of Tarkapet. Dealing enough damage in this fight will force a surrender that automatically ends the fight, giving you a suzerain and some scrap for your trouble. Since you can theoretically access this in any sector after the first one, you can reliably get a suzerain at some point during your run, so long as you pursue medium tasks, none of which are particularly difficult. Free Mantis Warlords. Free Mantis who have sworn off their most important thing, the 12-step plan. Warlords have slightly reduced health, take slightly less damage in combat, and their active ability drastically increases their movement speed and combat damage at the cost of 7 health. Warlords have some of the best burst damage in Multiverse, discounting augments or lab upgrades, and they can move like no one's business. The lowered health and damage taken to activate their ability may seem scary, but it's well worth it if you intend to use them as boarding crew, as they can end fights far faster than you'd expect. Free Mantis are tenacious, but not necessarily the brightest. If you come across a pulsar in Free Mantis territory, you may come across a drunken Free Mantis elite. If you goad them into a fight and successfully defeat them with their hull intact, a surviving Free Mantis warlord will join you. Slug saboteurs, sabotage-focused scumbags. Saboteurs have the standard telepathic kit of all slugs, but deal increased sabotage damage, as well as increasing damage dealt to enemy crew by your other crewmates. Their active ability cloaks them temporarily, ignoring combat in favor of sabotage, further increases the damage your crew deals to enemies, as well as the sabotage damage of the saboteurs themselves. But this increase in sabotage damage is weakened for every extra member of enemy crew within that room. Saboteurs have 2 roles in boarding: buffing the damage taken by enemy crew and discreetly sabotaging key systems. If you're aiming to sabotage systems like shields or weapons, it pays to use smaller boarding crew or splitting them across multiple rooms. Enemy ships tend to use the same amount of crew you bring into the room to defend it, so a boarding party of 2 will only attract 2 enemy crew, whereas one with 4 members attracts the same. Slug boarding is stronger than you might expect in Multiverse. One of the banes of complex boarding strategies in Multiverse is mind control, and the lab upgrade telepathic synergies grant mind control immunity to all crew in the same room as your slugs, as well as removing it from enemy crew in that room as well. This is important for ensuring that certain crew don't turn on you before a fight begins, or after teleporting, which is relevant if you have a Zoltan shield. The ransomware sector has multiple broadcast stations hiding the exit beacon. Defeating all of these stations reveal both the exit and a special distress signal, which hosts a special cruiser. Defeating it will give you both the schematics for your own hacker cruiser and your own slug saboteur. Slug Rangers, slugs with the goal of hunting the most dangerous game, man, and Engie, and Rockman, and Mantis, and slugs, and orchids, and so on, and so forth. Rangers deal more and take less damage in combat, but move slightly slower and lose their ability to sabotage enemy systems. Their active ability deploys a stun bomb, stunning enemy crew within a room, inflicting ion damage to the occupied room, cloaking themselves and immobilizing them, but slightly reducing the damage they deal to enemy crew for its duration. Rangers are a purely combat-focused boarder, and their stun bomb is especially useful against ships with a medbay. This stun can immobilize enemy crew that attempt to escape, giving you enough time to kill them before they can reach the medbay. While they're unable to damage systems, their bomb deals slight ion damage, disrupting certain systems for a short period of time. The Hunting Guild's territory is home to many slug rangers, and one of them is a small businessman in a nebula. If you buy out his shop's collection of marketable plushies, he'll come along for the ride. Rockman Crusaders, the biggest boy to ever boy big. Crusaders are completely immune to fire and stun, take slightly less suffocation damage, put out fires even faster than standard rockmen, and have a whopping 300 health. If you've ever wanted a walking, talking tank in Multiverse, Crusaders are your friend. They can take punishment like no one else, and the lab upgrade Obsidian Skin gives them entirely too much health. The Rockman Theocracy sector contains their original homeworld, stewarded by Stonewall, that jerk. If you best him in a fight, and murk his ass after the fact, you can overthrow his tyrannical regime, and will be rewarded a Crusader for your trouble. Lanus Welders, rust given form and purpose. Welders have slightly more health than standard Lanus, slightly improved repair and sabotage speed, and will damage any metallic crew and drones in the same room, excluding other Lanus. Their active ability rapidly drains oxygen from the room and regenerates their health, but greatly lowers their movement speed. Welders are excellent attrition fighters, especially against metallic crew like NG, who heavily utilize drones for combat. Their active ability makes them good teammates with other anaerobic crew, and can last for surprisingly long periods of time as a boarder. Inside the hidden sector Wentworth Innovation Headquarters, you'll meet a strange separatist NG. If you have an NG crew member discuss with them, they can explain their conundrum. If you can convince them that they're a Lanus, then they'll join you as a Lanus Welder. Crystal Sentinels are the masters of locking down exactly one room. They have slightly more health than standard crystals, have reduced movement speed, but lock down rooms and deal damage to enemy crew upon dying. Their active ability locks down rooms like standard crystal crew, but their cooldown is short enough to chain this lockdown multiple times, and has 8 charges. Sentinels are the standard bearer of lockdown boarding. If you have a sentinel in your boarding crew, you can safely sabotage individual rooms without fear of interruption from enemy crew, and allow you to break key systems in record time, especially with ghost crew. Ghosts also have the option of walking through this crystal barrier, letting them sabotage even before this lockdown expires. Sentinels are located primarily in crystal sectors, and the Crystal Capital gives you several options. The Crystal Empress will offer you one of 3 gifts for you to piss off and not return, and one of them is an imprisoned Crystal Sentinel. While this is a viable way to receive a Sentinel crewmate, this event also gives you the option to fight her in a duel, and if you spare her afterwards, she'll join your crew instead, giving you additional scrap and a weapon to boot alongside her. Floral Praters, Feng Shui flowers. They really bring the room together. Praters have slightly increased HP, generate oxygen, and their ranged attacks are slightly faster but weaker. Their active ability creates a support zone in a room until the next FTL jump, doubling the max health and repair speed of allied crew in that room. In addition, this also doubles the power generation and drain of energy crew and leeches in that room, respectively. Praters are fantastic crew for long boarding sessions, and even for general support on your ship. Praters double the current health of all allied crew within a room, so it pays to activate their ability as soon as possible. Their ability to double power of energy crew makes them ideal partners for Zoltans. They're excellent partners for leech boarders as well, since the increased health and power drain from Praters can cripple enemy shields and weapons for an extended period of time. Florals and Lost Sun Rockmen are somewhat at odds, due to the former's alliance with the Rockman Theocracy. If you find a fleet of Lost Suns attacking a planet, you may be able to fight them off and rescue a Praetor in the process. Vampweed Cultivators, not so small businessmen from the Little Shop of Horrors. Cultivators move slowly, refill oxygen more slowly than other florals and vampweeds, but lower the health, movement speed, and recovery speed of enemy crew within a room. Their active ability temporarily immobilizes them, prevents them from sabotaging, and reduces their damage in combat, but makes all enemy crew take a substantial increase in damage and stun duration while active. For pure damage output, cultivators can be some of the best boarding crew in the business. Between their innate health reduction and active ability, you can make very, very toxic boarding parties. Vampweeds and shells have surprisingly good relations. If you end up in a shell sector with a vampweed, you may come across a lab hoping to experiment on them. If you have an advanced medbay, you can guarantee the success of their test, transforming your standard vampweed into a cultivator. Ompiers, bottom feeders with the spark. Ompiers have slightly more health and recover slightly faster than standard leeches, but are stunned longer. Their active ability drains an extra point of power from any system on either ship. It's very annoying for them to be mind-controlled. Amperes are difficult to quantify as boarding crew. Like leeches, they're not the strongest on their own, but can complement an existing boarding crew in interesting ways. Like standard leeches, they work well with florals and medics, as well as boarding crew that can delay or stun other enemy crew. Amperes are one of the odd elites that you can recruit as early as Sector 1. There's a faulty Zoltan autoship in the first sector event that you're tasked with repairing. If you bring a leech from a ship that starts with them to the event, you can supercharge them, transforming them into an Ampere. Alpha phantoms, ghouls, mares, and wraiths. Bigger, badder ghosts. Alphas have more health and faster sabotage speed than their standard counterparts, but are slightly slower. At empty beacons, alphas can be split into two standard variants, giving you two ghosts, ghouls, mares, or wraiths, depending on the initial alpha. Alphas are non-corporeal nightmares for enemy ships. They sabotage incredibly fast and last even longer than standard ghosts. Depending on your ship's available crew, one alpha can create a consistent boarding strategy by itself, whether you keep it whole or split it in two. In the Dynasty homeworlds, you may come across a medical facility within a nebula. This facility is struggling to convince an alpha phantom to split, as alphas are the biological endpoint of a ghost's life. If you side with the alpha, they'll join your crew as you fight off the medical facility. Shell Radiance. Mad science for even madder boarding. Radiants take obscene damage from suffocation, but their active ability is far more potent than standard shells. In exchange for 15 health, Radiants deal 15 damage to crew and 1 damage to systems, and regenerate less HP. This ability has an incredibly short cooldown, letting Radiants deal heavy damage to both themselves and enemy systems within a matter of seconds. Radiants can dismantle enemy systems in the blink of an eye. In the process, they also dismantle themselves. Support from allied medics or florals can let them use their skill even more often. If you come across a distress beacon in the Shell homeworld's nebula, you may find a Federation ship that was kidnapped by Shell scientists. If you disarm the conflict and explain the misunderstanding between the Shells and Feds, you'll get a fight against a stealth cruiser for your trouble. If you win this fight, you'll receive a Radiant for saving them. Elites in Multiverse are very strong, but have you ever wanted to go even further beyond? Multiverse has even stronger, even more elusive crewmates than the elites. The so-called super elites are difficult to find and recruit, and are incredibly strong. Most cannot be recruited except by strange means, and some can't be recruited at all, save for the cruisers on which they start. And we're going to start with them. Angel. The space edgelord you always dreamed of being. Angels have increased combat damage, particularly at range, take reduced combat and hazard damage, and are nearly invulnerable to stun. Rock Paladins. The tankiest tanks who ever drew aggro. Paladins have even more health than rockman Crusaders, heal twice as fast, and have complete immunity to fire and stun as well. Their active ability sacrifices a small amount of health to increase their movement speed and let them break doors instantly. Paladins are strong and nigh impossible to kill. MFK Ace. It's Master Chief, but gray. And celibate. I don't know if these are correlated at all. They deal double damage in combat, sabotage faster, and take reduced damage from combat and hazards. MFK Aces do everything well. They're good, plain and simple. MFKs are notoriously scarce, but you can track one down hiding in rebel space. If you find a carpenter's shop and dig around enough, you'll find an MFK in hiding. If you hear him out and convince him that you want the fighting to end, he'll join your crew. Mantis Bishops. Biblically accurate Mantis men. Bishops are Mantis suzerains, just better. They deal even more damage and take even less in combat, and cannot repair anything whatsoever. Their active ability gives them over 4 times the standard damage in crew combat, but makes them fall apart against any hazard. If you need someone to die in a fight, Bishops are your friend. That is a strange sentence to say out loud. In the Mantis homeworlds, you may be offered the opportunity to capture a Mantis hatchery by a Mantis Bishop. Halfway through this fight, it becomes a timed fight, and you'll need to defeat the suzerain before the timer runs out. Afterwards, you'll be offered a new Mantis cruiser and have the opportunity to recruit the Bishop to your cause. Knight of Knights. I couldn't resist. Knights deal extra damage in combat, ignore doors, are immune to stun, and can deploy a stun bomb after reaching slightly less than half health, stunning crew and systems within the room, cloaking themselves, and regenerating health surprisingly fast for the duration. Knights are the bane of rhythm gamers and crew alike, and they're hard to deal with even at the toughest combat crew. They're not invincible, but damn near close. Knights are exclusively under the employ of Knights, the current Slug King. If you go to the hidden sector called the Royal Nebula and defend the current king against a usurper to cement his rule, he'll begrudgingly spare some of his royal guards to support you. This is a hard sell, as recruiting Knights himself is also an option, and he's a fantastic sabotage boarder in his own right. Thanks for watching. Making this video was a trial in and of itself, so let me know what you think in the comments. I'm not sure when I'll get around to it, but the next video will cover Multiverse's hidden endings. Be on the lookout for that in the coming weeks. Or realistically, months.